We do not live in a world created with perfection. This is not a paradise or a testing ground for happiness. This world is, rather, a living hell, a place of suffering, war, cruelty, and poverty. What have humans done with this gift? We have turned it into a place of endless war, where brutality and greed control everything. We have destroyed, shattered every part of this world, where light once was. But don't be so quick to look at the darkness that you forget that even in the darkest of shadows, light exists. We may see this world as a disaster, a sinking ship that no one can save. But if you look deep into the cracks of this so-called hell, you will realize something miraculous. In the devastation, we find resilience. In the darkness, we can find light. God did not create suffering, He did not create war. We did, and we can change it. Because in each of us is the power to start over, not tomorrow, but this very moment. The world is not a trap to be trapped in. It is a challenge for us to look back and realize that everything, from suffering to joy, from war to peace, is the result of our choices. And right now, we can choose again. So don't look at the world through a layer of despair. Look at the possibilities this world offers. Look at what we can create, the changes we can initiate, because it only takes a little light to dispel the darkness forever. This world was not created in chaos. It was not created to be dark. In the beginning, when God said, "Let there be light," the universe was filled with light, and from that moment on, everything was created with the perfection of the Almighty. But man, in his arrogance, greed, and cruelty, turned this beautiful world into a twisted version of hell. God did not create war. He did not put hatred in the hearts of men. He did not sow suffering or despair. But He gave man free will, and it is our choices that determine the fate of the world. War does not happen by itself, it is the product of hatred and the desire for power. When Cain killed Abel, it was not because God put cruelty in his heart, but because jealousy blinded him. History repeated itself thousands of years later, with millions of people killed just because the rulers wanted to expand their power. We blame God, but have we ever wondered who pulled the trigger, who ordered the armies to cross the border, who sowed hatred in the hearts of children? Cruelty is not the nature of the world, but the choice of people who have not found the light. When one person is cruel to another, it is not because the world was born to be cruel, but because that person has chosen darkness over light. When Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, it was not because God wanted him to, but because greed blinded his eyes. When we trample on each other for personal gain, when we put money, power, and fame above love and compassion, we are pushing this world into darkness. Despair is not the law, but a temporary state of those who have forgotten the purpose of life. We are not born to live in misery. But when people turn away from God, when they seek happiness in vain things instead of seeking Him, they fall into the abyss of emptiness. Solomon was the richest and wisest king in history, yet he lamented at the end that all is vanity. Not because the world is meaningless, but because when we try to find meaning in things that do not last, we get only emptiness in return. We create hell when we choose hatred over love, when we pursue vain things instead of truth, when we forget that we are not mere mortals but spirits made in the image of the Supreme Being. But if we have the power to create hell, we also have the power to destroy it and rebuild a paradise right here on earth. We do not have to wait for heaven after death to enjoy the blessings. If we live according to God's teachings, if we love, forgive and bring light into the world, heaven is here and now. We are not punished. We are not cursed. We are given a choice. And that choice is the key that opens the door to light or to darkness. So what will we choose? There was a man who once faced that choice. He spent his youth chasing after worldly illusions, thinking that power, fame and wealth were all he needed. He accumulated money, he built empires, he conquered everything he thought was important. But one day, when his hair was gray, his legs were tired, when everything he had once owned no longer brought him joy, he realized that there was one thing he could not buy back: time. He remembered the years that had passed like sand through his fingers. He remembered the people he had missed, the moments he had squandered because he thought he had more time. Now, looking back, he realized that the world had never punished him, God had never cursed him, it was only he who had wasted the opportunity that time had given him. And when it was too late to turn back time, he understood that time had never been his enemy, he had just failed to make the most of it. They say time is your enemy, that it eats away at your youth, your health, your hope. But that is only true if you don't know how to use it. Time does not destroy. Time is the most precious gift you will ever receive. When God created the world, He did not create a static entity. He did not place man in a place where everything was stagnant. He created time as a continuous flow, a series of moments in which man can grow, learn, and move toward the light. But instead of seeing time as an opportunity, man sees it as a sentence, a slowly running hourglass, an invisible prison that holds him captive to the limitations of age, regrets of the past, and fears of the future. Every passing moment is not a sign of decline, but an invitation to do something more meaningful with your life. You can use time to love more or to hate more. You can use time to build something beautiful or to bury yourself in the past. You can prepare for eternal life in heaven or lose yourself in meaningless things. You can use each moment to move closer to the light or to condemn yourself to darkness. It is you who decides whether time is a punishment or a gift. And if you understand this, people complain that time flies too fast. But if time is a burden, why do lovers look forward to every moment together? If time only brings destruction, why does a child eagerly wait for his birthday? Time is not a thief. It is a treasure that you must learn to use. A day never loses its value simply because it has passed, but because you have not lived it to the fullest. When we waste time on meaningless things, when we waste each day with negative thoughts, unnecessary worries, meaningless arguments. Look at those who have had a near-death experience, who have seen the line between life and death. They don't come back to say they wish they had more money, that they wish they had more power. They come back to say they wish they had spent more time loving, forgiving, being true to themselves. We are not afraid of time passing, we are afraid that when it is over, we will have not done what we wanted. You may see time as an enemy, but that does not slow it down. You may try to hold back time, but it never stops. But if you learn to walk with it, you will see that every moment is an opportunity to move closer to God, to love, to the perfection of your own soul. When God gives us time, He does not give it as a test, but as a means for us to become better. Time is not a double-edged sword, but a path. The question is not how time passes, but how you walk that path. When you are young, you think you have infinite time. When you are old, you realize there is never enough time. But here is a secret that no one tells you: God doesn't care how long you live, He cares how you live. A life that lasts a century but has no meaning is as meaningless as a candle that is never lit. But a life that lasts a century but has no meaning is as meaningless as a candle that is never lit. When you look back on your life, you will not remember the days you lived, but the moments you truly lived. You will remember the smiles you gave, the loving words you spoke, the kind things you did, the times you dared to follow your heart. You will not remember the hours you wasted, but the moments you made the most of. And when your time on this earth is over, your soul will not count the years you lived, but what you did with them. Time is an endless loop if you let it pass by without your awareness. But it can be a bridge to eternity if you know how to use it. When you realize that time is not something that eats you up, but something that is constantly giving you opportunities, you will no longer fear it. You will no longer worry about the future or regret the past. You will only know that each day is a gift, each moment is a gift. We spend so much time fearing things that haven't happened yet, regretting things that have been lost, chasing after things that never really mattered. But if we just stop for a second, just listen to the moment, just look into our own light, we will see that time has never been against us. It has always been on our side. It has always been a gift. And the only thing we need to do is accept it, make use of it, and turn it into a tool to bring our souls back to where they belong. Time is not a nightmare, it is God's beautiful dream for you. But only when you awaken, can you truly live that dream. And when you do, you will no longer be a victim of time, but its master. Because time never takes anything away from you, it only prepares you for something greater ahead. And one day, when your time on this earth reaches its end, you will not look back with regret, but look forward with eagerness, because you will know that every moment you have lived has been a preparation for your future. Because time never takes anything away from you, it only prepares you for something greater ahead. And one day, when your time on this earth reaches its end, you will not look back with regret, but look forward with excitement, because you know that every moment you have lived has been a preparation. Just as a skilled craftsman spends his whole life carving and sculpting a work, not to see it perish, but to perfect it, to bring it to a place worthy of its value, so too are people being polished by time to prepare for a greater transformation. And the moment we often call the end, is actually just the intersection between what has been prepared and what is about to be completed. They say that death is the end, the eternal darkness, the irreversible disappearance. But they are wrong. Death is not disappearance, but a return. You don't disappear, you move into another state of existence. You are not destroyed, you are reborn into eternal life. You are not stripped of this world, you are summoned back to your origin. Look at those who have come close to death, those who have touched the border between two worlds. They do not speak of endless darkness. They speak of light. They speak of pure love, of a sense of belonging that nothing else in the world can compare to. You were not born to fear death. You were born to prepare for what comes next. And when you understand this, all fear becomes meaningless. But why do people fear death so much? Because they don't understand it. They think that the last breath is the end of everything, that what they have built, who they have loved, will all fall into nothingness. But what if you knew that death is not an end, but a transformation? What if you knew that the soul is not confined to the body, but is only temporarily inhabiting this body? Look at the way a leaf falls to the ground, not to disappear, but to become nourishment for new life. Look at a caterpillar that seems to be dying, but then is reborn as a beautiful butterfly. If everything in nature has its cycles, why do people think that their life ends in a moment? We are not made to end in darkness. We are made to continue, to go through the stages of existence and return to earth. Look at the stories in the Bible. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, the witnesses thought it was the end. They watched him breathe his last, they saw his body placed in the tomb, they felt lost, hopeless. But 3 days later, when the stone was rolled away and the tomb was empty, the truth was revealed: death could not hold him. He did not disappear, he just passed through a door that no man could see. And if the Savior himself showed us that death is not the end, those who understand this truth will no longer be haunted by death, because they know that it is just a transition, just a moment that opens a new chapter. Purified souls will feel no pain or regret, because they know that they are returning home, returning to where they belong. But those who cling to the world, who spend their lives chasing after meaningless things, will feel death as a loss, because they are not ready. Not because death is scary, but because they have not truly lived the way God intended them to. Imagine a man who has spent his entire life amassing wealth, building a reputation, gaining power. He believes that this world is all there is, that everything he does is to consolidate his position on earth. But then comes the fateful day, the day that no one can avoid. He lies on his deathbed, realizing that everything he owns cannot be taken with him. His money cannot buy him another second. His reputation cannot change his fate. He looks back on his life and asks himself, what have I done with the time I had? And when his soul leaves his body, he will know the truth: his entire life was just a part of the world. But another person, a person who has lived with love, who has devoted his time to helping others, to seeking the truth, will not feel fear when death approaches. He knows that his life is not limited to this body. He knows that he is about to embark on a new journey, a journey that leads to eternal life. He does not tremble, because he has understood the true nature of life. Death is not darkness, it is only a veil that hides something greater that awaits you. When you know that you are not gone, that your spirit cannot be erased, that love and kindness and faith will take you to a place where time has no meaning, you will no longer be afraid. Imagine that one day, when you close your eyes for the last time, you will feel no regret or fear, but only peace, because you will know that you have lived out the purpose God has given you. You will know that the other side is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. And if you believe this, then even when death comes, it will no longer be something to fear. It will only be an invitation to return to the light, to the pure love that you have always belonged to. And that is the truth that few dare to face. Death is not the end. It is only a door, and those who are willing to step through it in faith will never have to fear. It is the key to unlocking awareness. Happiness is not outside of you, but is a connection to the divine essence within your soul. Happiness is not something you can find outside yourself, not something you have to seek in material things or social affirmation. They say that happiness is elusive, a ghost that always eludes your grasp, until you least expect it. But I am here to tell you that this is a profound misunderstanding, a lie that humans have been weaving for thousands of years. Happiness is not a reward deferred to the next life. It is here right now, in every moment you live, in every breath you take. You can choose to love instead of resent, you can choose to forgive instead of hate, you can choose to live instead of just existing. Happiness is not something that happens to you, it is something you create. And the most wonderful thing is, no one can take it away from you unless you let it go. You may believe that happiness is an illusion, something you cannot grasp, but in truth, you just need to change the way you perceive the world. When you begin to realize that you do not need to look for happiness outside of yourself, when you understand that happiness is not a destination, but a journey, you will see that life is full of wonderful moments. Everything you are looking for in the outside world, you already have it in your heart. But only when you truly let go of your expectations of perfect happiness and accept that every moment in this life carries a lesson, can you feel true serenity. Happiness is a combination of loving yourself and those around you, living with gratitude instead of need, and accepting that everything will come to you in time when you are ready. When you live in that choice, you will realize that happiness does not only come from what you have, but from how you face life. Those who have been looking for happiness in places outside themselves, who have been busy with meaningless pursuits, will eventually realize that they have overlooked what is truly important. Happiness comes from simple things, from seeing the sunrise every morning, from feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, from sharing small moments with loved ones. And more importantly, happiness comes from the endless choices you make every day. You can choose to love, you can choose to forgive, you can choose to live with faith and hope. When you understand this, you will no longer feel tired of the endless search. You will realize that happiness has been present within you all along, you just need to know how to recognize it. Life is not a race to the finish line, but a meaningful journey that you can choose how to experience. Challenges, difficulties, and even pain are all part of life. But instead of seeing them as bad things, you can see them as opportunities to grow, to learn, and to mature. When you start looking at life this way, you will see that each challenge brings you a new opportunity to move closer to true happiness. Happiness is not something you can find out there, it is inside you, right now, the moment you decide to create it. It is your choice. Choose happiness, right now, and don't let anyone or anything take away the joy, confidence, and peace you can create for yourself. So remember, happiness is not something you need to find, but something you need to create every day. Don't let external factors control your life. Don't let meaningless things take up your precious time. And most importantly, never give up on your own happiness. Be the one to decide it, because that is the power you have been given. Like dreams open up endless possibilities for us to explore. Dreams are not just a reflection of what we see and feel in the physical world, but a door that opens to other levels of reality, spaces that we sometimes forget, where your soul is not limited by time and space. Dreams are the language of the universe, of the truth that has not been revealed in physical life. You think that dreams are just fragments of imagination, but in fact, they are the means that the universe uses to communicate with you. Every detail in a dream has a meaning, a message, a guide for you, whether you realize it or not. You may see strange images, inexplicable scenes, but those are not random. Every symbol, every image in a dream has a deep meaning, related to your past, present and future. You have felt these messages, but sometimes because you do not understand, you ignore them. You have forgotten how to listen to the voice of your soul, to the messages from a world that you cannot see with your naked eyes. But that is the opportunity for you to understand yourself, about life, and about the purpose of your existence. Dreams are not an escape from reality, but a way for you to face the deep parts of yourself that you cannot access in your daily life. Try to remember the dreams that have shocked you when you woke up. Those emotions were not random. They were signals, signs from yourself, from your soul. They could be guidance from a higher version of you, from a self that you cannot recognize in your waking life. Now is the time for you to listen again, to open the door to undiscovered truths. The dream world is not a place to escape, but a place where you must find the answers you are looking for in this life. Open your eyes, open your heart, and be ready to recognize the messages you have been missing. Dreams are an integral part of this journey, and if you learn to understand them, you will discover the deepest truths that life has to offer. Dreams will combine to create limitless power, helping you overcome any challenge, discover hidden truths, and shape your own future. Willpower is one of the most powerful forces in the universe, transcending time, space, and energy. It is not just an abstract concept, but the essence of everything, the thing that creates and shapes our reality. When we think of power, we often think of physical strength, intellect, or power. However, all of these things originate from the will, the thing that determines how we face the world and our future. Imagine, without willpower, you would not be able to change or control anything in your life. The power of willpower is not something that someone can give you, but something that already exists within you. The whole world can make you feel weak and confused, but if you know how to connect with that inner strength, no one can stop you. This shows that nothing can conquer you if you do not allow it to. Once you understand that you are in control and not a victim of circumstances, you will realize that you can change everything. In fact, no one can impose rules or conditions on you unless you agree to them. Any limitations you feel you are under are of your own making, and only when you realize this truth will you begin to live truly free. If you think that power comes from outside, you are missing the most important thing. True power comes from within. It is not something you need to search for, but is part of your nature that you already have. It is just waiting for you to discover and reconnect with it. This force is so powerful that it can change your life instantly, if you choose to use it. This power is something you will realize when you begin to trust yourself, no longer allowing external factors or doubts to control your decisions. Because when you connect with your will, you will feel the endless power that you cannot. So how do you get out? You are not stuck. You only believe that you are stuck. This is the key point that very few people really realize. Since the beginning of time, humanity has been forced by belief systems, ideologies, and social constraints to fit into a mold, a story of which we are not the authors but only players. Every great teaching in history has had the same message: liberation does not come from outside. It only comes from within. But how do you escape the trap of limitation that you and I have been trapped in? That is the question that very few people dare to face and seek the real answer. Don't think that you need to go far to find salvation, because in fact you have everything right inside you. Step 1. Destroy. The first step to freedom is not to learn something new, but to let go of the old and stop believing in the illusions you have been attached to all your life. The limiting thoughts you have always carried, the beliefs about yourself that society has created, are the hidden chains that keep you from moving forward. You are not what you think you are. You are not your past pain, not your failures, not the shortcomings you believe you have. You are part of a greater power, something that transcends all limits of space and time. You just forget that power. From the moment you are born, you have been programmed to believe that you are small, weak, and dependent on others. But that is just a story you have given yourself, and to break it, you must stop believing in that story. Be brave enough to step out of the shell you have worn for so many years. You are not a victim of life. You are a creator. You have the ability to rebuild everything from nothing. Step 2. Unlock. How do you really break out? That is the question we always seek the answer to, forgetting that, in fact, the answer is always available within ourselves. One of the next important steps is to unlock your soul memories. Do you remember? Not memories of your childhood or past events in your life. Those are the memories deep inside you, memories that you yourself have lost or have been deprived of. Those are what have been sealed in the deep layers of your soul. You used to know, but when you grew up, the world forced you to forget. However, that memory never disappeared. It just slept, waiting for the moment when you were ready to awaken it. How to awaken this memory? You need to start by asking questions you have never dared to ask before. Questions you have always avoided, but which can open up new horizons for you. Start listening to your dreams, your premonitions, and déjà vu moments, things that seem meaningless but are actually messages from your soul. Like a guide guiding you through landscapes you've never seen before. Dreams, sudden feelings, and seemingly coincidental moments are the bridge between you and yourself. Stop looking outside for answers. Everything you need has always been inside you. But only when you're willing to break down the walls can you find it. Step 3. Reactivate your forgotten power. There's a magic hidden inside you, a power you don't even know you have. This is the energy that many of us have forgotten throughout our lives. But it never leaves you. You just forgot about it, for some reason, maybe because society or dogma has made you believe that you are weak and not strong enough. Every system has created fear to keep you from looking at your own power. They have made you believe that you are just a normal human being, and that you cannot overcome your limitations. But now, it is time for you to remember that hidden power. How to reactivate this power? It is very simple, you just need to realize that you always have it. You do not need to look far. It has never been lost. You just need to realize its presence. The power you are looking for has always been within you. Only when you believe in yourself and begin to realize the limitless potential you have, will you discover that you can change everything. You will discover that you can change everything. You will discover that you can change everything. When you begin to recognize the infinite power within you, when you open yourself up to yourself and listen to God's call, everything in your life changes. You are no longer a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your own destiny. Never forget that deliverance does not come from outside, but from within, from God's faith, resilience, and unconditional love. Listen to Him every day, accept His messages and guidance for you. The moments you spend with Him, the moments you open your heart and live by the values He teaches, are powerful steps on the path to finding true peace and happiness. Trust in God's love, listen to Him every day, and you will see miraculous changes in your life. God is always with you, and only when you awaken can He lead you to the most wonderful things. Please share this message, spread God's love and support the channel so we can grow, together create a strong community, share what we have learned.